Hello, so this is my review of The Green Knight, a film directed by David Lowery. I really wanted to review this movie because it was one of my favourite texts from the first semester. Well, it was my favourite text on the reading that we did in my English degree in the first semester, Sir Gawain and the Green Knight. I really loved reading this poem, and so now is a chance to maybe say something regarding it. But I don't remember too many details about the poem, but I did remember the poem quite well. So I was able to sort of compare the poem with the film while I was watching the film. I didn't really like the film that much. I know I normally say how great films are that I review on this channel, and I'm just looking at my phone, and it says 6.8 Imdb rating. Well, I don't go by ratings, or I don't do ratings online myself. But actually, I would say, and it says 65% liked this film Google users. Well, I agree, actually. It is about a 6.5 out of 10 for me. It's pretty good, but it's not great. I think somebody was sat in the row behind me. I normally sit quite near the front, so I don't have to look at people's mobile phones switching on and off and all that stuff. But somebody was sort of leaning over behind me, who seemed, which was quite annoying actually, but not right behind me, but to my left. And actually, it seemed that they really were quite engrossed in the movie, but I could never quite get into the film. And one of the things that rather put me off was the music. I thought that was really the worst part of the film. And I've seen a few other films lately. I can't think of any necessarily straight off the top of my head, but where they've used a similar kind of music. You know, there's not much sort of extra diegetic music, but you have this sort of violin playing in the background. It's sort of like this, and you think, all right, it's quite sort of it works for the first 5 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever, but then it really starts to get annoying. I don't know, there was some of this film, so maybe the cinematography, I can't quite remember the music, perhaps the music as well, but it reminded me a little bit of this film, The Witch, which I actually quite enjoyed at the cinema. I enjoyed it more than I did this film. There is the other part of the poem which I liked, is the whole sort of symbology, the pentagram and all that stuff, the number 5 coming up, and the colour symbology. And I think they made some attempts during this film to allude to that, but it didn't come so strongly, like as if it's really important. So it's like it was more of a box ticking exercise than actually something that that you would sort of think of while you were watching the film, or even after having watched the film. Or it didn't feel so. It just, I don't know. They didn't make too much of it. Like I said, I thought the cinematography was quite good. It did transport me. I always say with sort of historical movies, whether based on real history or not, or sci-fi movies, you need to be sort of transported to another place, and it did do that to a certain degree. But I don't know. I think actually the music was the thing that sort of blunted the sensation somewhat. I'm always alluding to other films in my reviews. It did remind me a little bit of this film I once saw at the Barbican called Tale of Tales. I was just waiting around in London for some event, some meal or something like that, and I had a few hours to burn, and a few years ago, and I saw this Tale of Tales with Salma Hayek, and it was quite an interesting. Well, it was quite an entertaining film, and it seems like it was just a film that was completely just came and went and was completely forgotten about and never spoken about afterwards by anyone. But it reminded me of that. But I also feel this is a film that you just it would just sort of go by, and some people will remember it, most people won't. There was also this rather annoying antagonist turns up in the film, and I don't want to give away what happens in the film, but actually, if you've read the poem, this is sort of there's a whole chunk of the film that's basically not in the poem. Basically, what happens is in the poem is he goes on a sort of, he's going off to this green chapel or whatever, and in the poem it's a fairly brief part of the poem. It's quite a long poem. It's a very brief part of the poem, and I remember the teacher saying something, or actually I think it was an essay I was reading in the library about it 3 years ago, and it said, if this was in a movie, because of course, there wasn't a movie when this essay had been written, and he said, if this was in a movie, all these scenes would be done in a sort of a montage, right? And I thought, well, actually, that would be a good way. It would be a short movie, perhaps, right? But because this is a full-length feature film, not a cartoon. There was a good cartoon by a Welsh company. I think it might still be on YouTube. That was very good. And it did all the symbology well and the poetry well, and I thought it was brilliant. And all those good parts were lost in this film. And I think even those scenes when he's travelling was perhaps done as a kind of a very short kind of montage. But here we actually see quite a lot of his journey. And you think, oh, right, well, that's interesting, because I was always, that was one of the most interesting parts for me, or the mysterious parts of the poem, like what happened during this sort of long journey, or over many weeks probably. There was a sort of almost Excalibur, one of my favourite films, John Borman, sort of element to this film. I got that sort of feeling. But it fell a bit flat. And there was this really annoying character I'm coming back to now. And I thought, it's Ramsay Bolton from Game of Thrones. It was like they literally had decided, oh, let's have a Ramsay Bolton character. And it was almost as if and he's not, as far as I remember, he's not in the poem, and it's almost as if they told him, oh, just do your best Ramsay Bolton impression. If you haven't seen Game of Thrones, I'm just put a picture on the screen, but anyway, I just I don't want to see Ramsay Bolton in any other, he's all right in Game of Thrones, but and there was also in this awful new Star Trek TV series, there was a character who they obviously just decided to copy Ramsay Bolton. Anyway, and in this later on in the film, when he gets to the Green Chapel, I'm not giving away plot spoilers here. I mean, but there's these sort of animals which were very symbolic, like the fox and the whatever, the deer or something, and there was another animal, and I don't think they really, like I say, made much of the symbology. But this, I think it's a fox. That's right, it's a fox, and it reminded me actually of another film I'd seen a few weeks, a couple of months ago, maybe towards the end of my degree. When I was just sitting around really just waiting for the exam to come up. And I saw this film called 10,000 BC, this modern film that came out a few years ago. And I quite enjoyed it. I thought it was actually, historically completely inaccurate and everything, but whatever. I thought it was quite a good film. I mean, I just really enjoyed it. It was just perfect. I always say like a perfect matinee film. And whenever I say that, I always mean a film that you're not expecting too much when you switch it on. And, it was a film I watched in the afternoon. It's not like, I've been waiting weeks for this movie. It's just a film you decided to suddenly watch in the afternoon. And it did the job, 10,000 BC. And there's a bit in that film, most of the film, he's sort of followed around with this wolf. It's quite a common, one of my favourite movies, Dances with Wolves. Obviously it's been done before where an animal kind of ends up being like a little companion throughout the movie. But I don't know, it was all right. But I didn't quite... oh, yes, that's it. So what happens is this... Again, I'm not giving away plot spoilers too much here, but I think at one point the fox starts talking. And I always have a bit of a problem in movies that aren't, at least ones that aren't animated movies, where animals start speaking. But and I think maybe this was the bit that reminded me of The Last Temptation of Christ or something. But I don't, not that I remember animals speaking in that film, but or maybe in. Something like The Passion of the Christ. Obviously, there's a deeply religious elements to this, but I didn't really think it did religion particularly well either. If it was trying to, I don't know. It was quite stylish, right? That's right. It's not in my notes, but it also reminded me of The Fountain, the Darren Aronofsky film, and I think maybe what with the tree thing or towards the end, I think my favourite scene from that movie was right at the end, and I liked the ending. Right, I'm not going to give away what happens at the end of this film, but I think right at the end, not the very very last scene, but there's a bit towards the end with the let's just say regarding like a tree, some arboreal type thing. And I thought that was all right, and it reminded me of this other film, as other films I've always been reminded of. And I think that's pretty much, I've just got some scribbles in my notes, and that's pretty much all the scribbles gone. I think there was of course, the last thing I must mention is Alicia Vikander. And Vikander, I think I've said on this channel before, I really like this actress. And she sort of plays like a double, sort of two parts or whatever. And she's got this sort of British voice accent, like a sort of Yorkshire accent. I couldn't pin down exactly what accent it was, but it was a northern accent. You just say a northern accent, and she had an awful haircut and a sack dress or whatever. I thought, oh God! I didn't even think. I didn't even know it was her actually at first, but I didn't really go for that. I thought, I wasn't convinced. It was rather annoying actually. But then she turns up, right? She plays like another role, and of course I knew the role quite well because I knew the poem very well, and I was thinking, oh right, okay. So I knew shortly before I watched the film, I knew Vikander was in it. And then I thought, oh, well, hold on. I thought she was going to play the role of this other woman, right? And then I thought, oh, so she's only playing this, and this girlfriend or wife or whatever. She's not in the poem as far as I remember. I thought, oh right, but then of course she does turn up, right? She plays this other role. Oh, she's wonderful. I mean, she looks really good. Funny enough, my favourite scene in this movie, apart from maybe that final scene I talked about towards the end, was there was a scene where she, and I remember it so well it's one of my favourite scenes from the poem, when she comes to the bed chamber. Right, I won't give anything more away from that. And normally what plays out in this scene is normally something I would not like at all. Right, but for some reason I liked it, and I thought she was the perfect temptress. Right, so she's like, I'll just call her a temptress. And for me, yeah, I mean, if you asked me, pick 3 or 4 actresses who would, be a temptress, right? I would definitely have picked Vikander. I think she was perfect. This dress she's wearing, you have to see it. If you could go and see the film just for Vikander, right? I mean, if you're of that persuasion, and you have no other reason to see the movie, I saw it mostly because I wanted to see how it measures up to the poem. Secondly, perhaps because of because I just generally like sort of medievally type films if they're done well. And thirdly, because of Vikander. But in the end, I think with hindsight, the best reason to go and see the film was Vikander. Sorry for those non-native speakers who are listening. I'm just doing this literally like in one breath, like some kind of I've forgotten his name now. The poet who did that poem, Ginsberg. Yeah, like Howl. He's supposed to read the whole poem in one single breath. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. These are my thoughts about the film. I would give it a 6.5 out of 10. Not that I normally do ratings out of 10 or whatever. But there are reasons to see the film. It is quite stylish. It's a bit dark. I don't just mean dark as in like heads getting cut off and stuff. I mean like literally you can't see stuff going on sometimes, which I suppose that has to be realistic because, before electricity was not invented, but discovered, you're not in the middle of the night, you're not going to have any lights. But anyway, right, there was a few moments when I could barely tell what was going on. And there was another actress, actually, very briefly, there was another actress playing this kind of queen. And I kept thinking all during the film, I know this woman. Right, I know this woman. What's she been in? And to be honest, I never actually went and looked up. Oh, I know, I realised, I think, towards the end of the film. She's in Game of Thrones. So actually, there is a Game of Thrones. There's more than one Game of Thrones sort of reference going on here. But I like her. I honestly, Oh, I know. Oh, yeah. Okay, and yeah, all right. So actually, yeah. I know. I know who she is in Game of Thrones now. Not that I looked it up. I just remember now. Yeah. And actually, I've just looked up on my phone. This is the end of the review in a few seconds. But she was actually. It says Wikipedia. She was in Prometheus, and I remember that now. I've seen the film 2 or 3 times. I actually like those Ridley Scott movies, the prequels to the Alien film, heavily criticised by others. And she was also in The Witch. So, right, okay, so, and I mentioned The Witch. Did I mention The Witch? I should have mentioned it if I didn't. But yes, there was... I don't know because I've recorded this more than once, but it also it reminded me of The Witch. I think with this sort of grating music, if I didn't say that already, or the cinematography or whatever. But yeah, so right. So if you liked some of those films I mentioned, then you might find that you actually like at least some of this film, and you might be completely engrossed in it, like the person who was sat on the row behind me. And also, a rather odd thing actually happened when I went to the cinema. I know this review now is going on way too long, but when I went to cinema, this I was asking for the tickets in Polish, which was probably one of the problems. But I wanted the 3rd row, and I normally don't sit right in the middle, because otherwise somebody will be crunching popcorn or whatever right behind your ear. Normally, I like to sit 3rd row and just sort of a quarter of the way along the row, and he was like he wouldn't give me the ticket. I think he was saying in Polish, I recommend sitting somewhere around sort of row 10, 9, 8. I was just like, I want the 3rd row. Like, just give me the 3rd row. I'll just anyway, right? So. Anyway, that's my story. So let me know if you've seen the film, if you'd like to maybe see the film, if you have seen the film, or if you watched the film after this review or before this review, put comments down, tell me what you think about it. And like the video as well, that would be nice. And whatever else you want, if you want to subscribe, do so, or don't if you don't want to. So see you on the next video. Hopefully... I'll make another one soon.